the success for me is standing here right now. And I didn't care if anybody was standing here today, because I was going to stand here and I was going to do what I'm going to do, and I was going to make some statements about what I was going to make, because I need to speak to this courthouse and the people in it, and I need to speak to that Capitol and the people in it, and I need to speak to that governor, and we need to speak to our president, and we got to start doing something about where we're going in this country, because we're slipping quickly into descent into evil, and that's what we're going to call it, and that's what we're going to start talking about. So, you know, I mean, I'll save some of the remarks for during the program. I didn't want to set it up this way, but Cedric Kerberson and his America Rebirth Tour and the Plus Tour, People, Peace, Love, Unity, Serenity, or something like that, they're coming up. They had a breakdown in their vehicle down towards Lansdale. They were supposed to be here. We were supposed to get this show on the road at 11 o'clock and have some music, have a little fun. You know, I'm passing out some flowers. I'll prove every word I've ever said about this system of justice, and I will stand by it until somebody comes out here and proves me wrong. And I've laid a lot of words on these folks in these buildings around here, and nobody's ever stepped up and said, here's why you're wrong. But this is just beginning today. Well, it began a long time ago, and I'll save that for my remarks. I really had to build into the remarks, build into the routine. But I did and said some things about 4 years ago. And I talked about running for Congress. I talked about my licensing application, readmission, my the radio program, and it was all sitting back and studying things. You know, I started realizing that one of the devices of getting access on some of these things is they spin you off in every direction, and you can go a million different directions on this thing, and you just got to stay with it, and you got to stay with it, and you got to stay with it until you get to the realization that we don't need permission to do what we're doing, because it's built right into our founding documents. Our bond is with our Creator, and we have all authority under Him to administer His justice here on earth. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do it with some strong declarations under the authority of God to take back our justice system, because it has been taken over by man. And I'm not here to bash any judges in particular. I have things to say to specific judges. They're very well aware of the things that I've said to them and the things that I've said about them, and I invite the open dialogue. But ultimately here, I really wanted to have this be a celebration, and it's going to be a celebration. It might not feel real celebratory right now, but there is some music that I wish was playing right now, and some mingling and stuff that we're going to do. But we're going to catch fire with this thing. I'm just trying to, reflect that kind of unifying message, and not out here talking bad about judges, saying we want to prosecute people and put them in jail. No, we don't want that. We just want a better tomorrow. I'm not worried about the past. We want a better tomorrow. We got a system that in degrees we've all been consumed by. Either it's this judicial system, or we've been consumed by money, or we've been consumed by all these other distractions. And it's time that we come together and focus on the distractions, rather than letting our differences then become the distractions, because that then just becomes another device. So I think what I'm going to do, maybe we can. I'm just going to do the. Just get up and kind of go through and do this thing. What would have been going on now is I'd have been playing U2 Magnificent. I'd been walking around. Where's that? Yeah.
You're welcome.
Again, I came in, and we're going to do some of this, because I'm going to do this show. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this sometime, somewhere, and I want to just generate everybody's attention on this. Show the courthouse who's coming, and then set that up there. So that would have been kind of routine at the beginning. You getting all these? This is a very important speech. These things are very important symbols. These two right here, they have a very special place for those. And these people in this courthouse know where it's going to go. And I ain't stop until it does. So, it just would have been energizing music, and I'll hand out everybody their card. You got the blank one. You get that one. You get that one. I would have been a little bit more theatrical doing it this way. You get that one. You just get nothing. You're just going to hold there and put your hands up, okay? And your dad gets that. And that was going to be the centerpiece of this. Yeah, just, whoops, sorry, let me get this one that way. Yeah. Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and this is for all those with whose symbols aren't represented. And the fellow at the end is for all those who don't want a symbol to represent their relationship with God. So, that's what was going to go on there. And then I was pretty much going to, after that song, I was going to announce, Welcome to Justice Day, May 2nd, 2017. May 1st, 2017 was Law Day. Law Day is Man's Day. Law is just a servant of justice, and we're going to finally get out here and we're going to start celebrating justice, and we're going to start celebrating the source from which it all derives. Because these institutions, these courthouses across this country, they represent our justice system. Our justice system anchors our bond with our Creator. It is the anchor here on earth by which we maintain and establish our bond with our heavenly Creator. It's not the churches. Churches serve wonderful purposes and useful purposes, but these institutions are where our rights are preserved, and we're losing access to those rights. And this is my powerful way to invoke them, to invoke our rights and take them back. And we're doing it in a way, a novel way, because there are some filings, and I was going to save that for after the second song I'll talk about in a little bit. But there are some filings that I made that are very significant filings that people might not instantly understand, but I put a lot of time into them. I'll save that. So what I was going to do now is just turn up. I was going to play a little bit of more rockin' music here, and an old band called Live. And again, we're still working on the music thing. Cedric's still in transit somewhere here, but I was going to turn it up a little bit, because when you get down to it, this song is called Transmit Your Love, and it's an energized song. And it's talking about transmit your love to me and make me whole again, silently make me whole again. And it lifts up energy. And it says things like, you're going to tell your leaders love is in town to turn this whole thing upside down. And I want to point at these institutions. I want to point at these institutions and say, love's coming, and we're going to turn you upside down. And that'll be right side up, because that's the way we're going to do it here. So that's, that was going to energize, and really that's how Jesus does it. That's how Jesus did it. Jesus wasn't calm and passive and walking around. He was turning tables. He was getting in the Pharisees and giving them lessons in love and logic. That's what it was all about. That's what his life was all about, and then he went the whole way for it. And we need to start generating that kind of passion and compassion in people's hearts again. And that's what I'm going to do. And I'm out here right now, standing in this institution that has rejected me. But you know what? I beat you to the punch, folks. I reject you. And I don't need your permission to do what I'm going to do. I don't need it. I have it. That's what our country's based on, is my permission from my Creator. And it's not being taken away from me anymore, and we're not asking for permission anymore. So that's, that's the general theme, and we're going to turn it up a little bit. And then I was going to do some ceremonial stuff. I was going to ask John D. to do me a favor. Could you come up, John? And I was going to do this during the song. These symbols, John knows about these symbols. John and I have shared a lot. And Rick, go ahead and hold that up. I've been looking at this for a long, long time, a couple years since I got it. And, I'm not honestly, this is a rosary here. Catholic symbol. I'm not a rosary sayer. I'm not really even much of a Bible reader. I'm just a God lover, my way. But that was something that was given to me. It was an important symbol, and I want to show the honor to the people that do. Like my grandmother, who always had that rosary in her fist. God bless her, and all those innocent, sweet, innocent people that just love their Jesus and love going to their Catholic church. So I was going to ask John to come up and help me, kind of ceremonially with this. Thank you, John. Because we got to start displaying what's in our hearts, and that's where it all lies. It all starts in our hearts. And then, so then after that song, and I'm wearing this, and this whole Michigan thing has a little significance too, and Don Bailey will know that. That's when I was going to get up and start talking about, the documents that I filed, the reasons that we're here, why we're assembling, that we do no longer need our permission to take back our government. And taking back our government starts in many respects with taking back our courts. Again, I'm a little disjointed, and I didn't have anything prepared. I didn't have anything written. I just wanted to get up here and speak what came to me, and it would have come in a different order and a better flow if we had the music. But you can always dub music in, and we can figure out a way to work with this. So I'm just trying to fill this up with as much as I can, because we want to make a Justice Day issue for next year too. But that's what I was going to talk about. I was going to talk about the detailed plans, what I've done. Let me just show this a little bit.
I want to give him the world what he deserves. I want what was mine that was stolen from me.
And I was going to have these organized on the table, but I want to talk a little bit. February 26, 2013, I sent a letter to the most powerful lawyers and judges in the country, including those who occupy our Pennsylvania Supreme Court and those who occupy our United States Supreme Court. And what I told them was effectively this. I talked about Don Bailey, I talked about our relationship, I talked about what we've been through, I talked about what he's been through. I told them that what they've done to him, that man who has more courage than all of them, and I don't want to speak negatively about any individual, but he's just a courageous man, that what they did to him was wrong. And that I reflected on some of mine and Don's conversations over the years, and how Don, who's 20 years older than me, used to say to me kind of prophetically, if you will, you know, Andy, if I were 20 years younger and I didn't have the burdens that I have right now, I'd spend the rest of my life taking this crooked system apart. So there I was in February 2013 with the suspended law license. No friends, just Don and his family, but we were all alienated. No money, no work. Well, a little bit of work. I was doing my civil rights stuff. I was fighting away down there on my back with Don Bailey, you know, about to lose his license and everything falling around. And I took that letter and I stood in front of their courthouse and I said, I might be down, but I'm not out and I'm coming back. And that's what I've done for the past 4 years. That's what I've worked on. You know, I've run for Congress. I've done my radio show. Done a lot of things. I've applied for their, well, you know what? I never applied for their license. I made it clear from the start I didn't want their license, that I was challenging this entire system, and that's what I've done. But I did use these 4 years to get every benefit I could of using their system, to learn what I needed to learn from it, knowing that it was a predetermined result. Probably could have written the opinion myself and still have not read it. I'll read it at some point because I'm going to have to do some things with it at some time, but I haven't, because this was the plan the whole time. The plan was to come up with an approach to really go after this thing. And almost literally, and I said a lot of stuff in that letter, it's been up on my website, and I'm going to show you a couple other documents. But what my approach was almost literally, you know, just to sit for 4 years and watch all the people that are studying these issues and all these wonderful proposals, and every solution is out there, but they all get spun off into a legislative hearing or, you know, this kind of proposal or something else. And then you never get to the top with these solutions. And I just kept following it to the top until I got that aha moment and said, well, this is a top-down solution. We're not doing it. We are not going to get the permission of the people who run this system. It is the courts, it is the corporations, and it is the big banks, the Federal Reserve. They are the layers between us and our Creator. And they are never, ever, ever going to give us their permission. So we've got to find a way around it. And the only way around it is to go to the top and bring it from the top down. And that's what we're talking about. And that's where, you know, this is where the more somber or spiritual music I was going to have mixed in, The Greatest Army. I forget the woman's name right now, but I listen to it a lot. It's a beautiful song. And it talks, you know, because I wanted to talk about Justice Day and what it means, and talk about, you know, reflecting on the bond between us and our Creator. And we talk about it a lot. You know, we all talk about, you know, our Declaration of Independence, and talks about our bond with us and our Creator, and we talk about good and we talk about evil, but we don't ever really stop and think about the sources of good and the sources of evil and how they really play out through this system. So I was just going to try to generate some energy. And are you taking off, Dave? All right, thanks. Thanks for everything. Sorry about like a little bit of the bus, but I'm going for it anyway. I'll see you next year. All right, Dave, thanks. I'm going to share those beautiful signs that Dave did for me. And that's what I was going to do. I was just kind of trying to, this is about spirits. This is about angels and demons and, goodness and justice and peace and love and, all this stuff that's thrown around us. And it's kind of lost in this whole system. It's all been lost. It's all been lost. And you talk about it now in this world. And that's why I wanted to do it right here. I want to get out here and I want to praise God like I should be able to in the public square, anywhere. Nobody does it anymore. And I'm willing to do it with the status that I have in front of this courthouse because I love God. And this is for Him. And I don't care who's here to see it or what they say about it. And that's the way that we have to be. So I'm trying to step up above like what's normally socially acceptable in these kind of environments, to take people by the hand and say, come on, take a baby step. I'm going to take a giant leap. You take some baby steps behind me. And I'm willing to get out and take the lead on that. So, this music then, and I've worked with my friend Frances, my dear, dear friend Frances, who I would love to have had out here. But she, I've learned about angels. And I don't know. I can't see any around here. Anybody see any? Well, actually, I think we do sometimes see them around us, and we don't even know it. But I don't see any here. But what's the harm in believing that there's protection? Spiritual protection for the purity and goodness of our efforts. Even if we're not right, it doesn't hurt. And frankly, the evidence that I've seen suggests that they're real. So let's channel that and let's focus on some of that. And that's what I was going to start getting to. Hi, ma'am. I wanted to keep them there, but I don't know if I can do these other sign things. There's a really powerful in this this Greatest Army song. Kate, can you come here? Can you just are you all right to just stand and like just hold something up so it doesn't fall?
Probably not.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I'll deal with it. No problem. There was this beautiful piece in this song where it just kind of really opens up. And it just, it's something like the routine just kind of developed in my mind. And I had a couple images that I was going to display in a little bit of a dramatic way. Let me just set this.
Use Brenda.
What's that?
Get Brenda.
Brenda? Well, it's all right. I'll just hold this right here in front of you. All right? And just hold this right here in front of you. And my idea was to maybe have them set out here a little bit. And we're going to talk about, in the song, it talks about the return. It talks about the return of Jesus. It talks about the Lion of Judah. It talks about him roaring over his bride. And, I had a little something planned where I was going to come over. Go ahead, take your hand up. And just unveil the lion. And it talks about defeating darkness. And I want to wave this around and say we're defeating darkness. That's what we're out here to do today. Because this is darkness. And it's light. And I would set that somewhere. And then I was going to go over here. I'm going to unveil that one. And that's justice. And then the music goes, about the lion, roaring over his bride. And that's my bride. That's my bride. That's justice. She's beautiful, isn't she?
Get mask off.
She's beautiful, isn't she? Hey, what, put it over her mouth? No, I'm kidding. And then, so the music gets real spiritual, and it's really got an awesome kind of flow and a beat to it. And I was going to, do some things like, just go and like bow to people and, share this white with them because I want the white and black image because we all talked about it. We all talked about transparency and that these are the real problems in this system. And then the music was going to pick up. John, could you come? Don't let them back you down. They're just men. Are you good? You good? Okay. Yeah, they're just men. Don't let them back you down. Roar. That's the lion image. But then there was a part where I was going to talk about, seeing darkness flee, and I was going to, lay this down, and it'll probably blow away now. But we'll figure something out. Just set it there, and I'll just set this on top of it. So this was the image. This was the image that, the darkness had fled. And if the music was here, you'd see the beauty of this. And maybe I'm being boastful, but it just came to me, and it just felt so right. But then at some point, in the music, you got me there? I'm going to stalk that black, because Jesus is coming. And we're going to stalk it a little bit. And I'm going to sit, and I'm going to walk on it. I'm going to stomp on it a little bit. Not stomp, but just show the power that we have here over darkness. I'm going to put on my white, and there's a story where I got this, and then there's a point in the song where it just kind of gets into a total flow, and it talks about Jesus coming, it talks about the evil spirits fleeing, and I want to get out and celebrate God and let Him know that we need these evil spirits gone. And we want to turn, and I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to do this kind of crazy stuff right here in front of this courthouse. I don't care if there were 10,000 people here. I don't care if these two people come over here and want to laugh at me. This is for God. This is what we need to do. We need to channel this. We need to stand over darkness. We need to stomp on it. We need to put it out, because that's the problem in this system right here, is the lack of transparency. All this stuff, all these rules, all of our Constitution was created under the cloak of darkness, and it existed that way since 1968, and it has created an evil institution. And those demons need to flee. Get Jesus up. Those demons need to flee. That darkness needs to flee. Run away, go, flee. And that's it, man. That's what I wanted to do. And then I was going to, there's one point in the psalm where it talks about His Spirit being on the earth. And I was going to lay the white, and it gets kind of passionate about worshiping and praising Jesus. And that's what I was going to do. Put Jesus up. I just want to worship Him, man. I just want to worship Him. Praise Him. Ask Him to come and help us here. Lift up all these signs. Lift them up, man. This is what we want. Lift them up. Lift up Lady Justice. This is what we want. Let's celebrate this. Nothing wrong with doing this, is there? Anybody coming with white coats? But this is what I want. This is what we want. This is what we're trying to do. So that would kind of wrap up that song, and I want to do a little tribute, because I was going to do a tribute here. That's going to be that song. And then from there, we're going to build in a little energy, and this is where I don't know how I'm going to orchestrate this one, but I'm going to do this routine, because this is going to be great. You guys can put those down, thanks. But just stay. But the next song was Cadence for Heaven. And John D. Liberto is the one about 2 months ago who said, "Hey Andy, you might want to listen to this." I can tell you something, that lit me right on fire. And as soon as I started hearing that song, all this stuff just started coming together about how we're going to go about this. And that song is much more uplifting. It talks about giving us, the cadence of heaven, and there's a beat to it, and there's a march. It talks about getting your marching orders, and that's what we're doing. We're getting our marching orders. It's a cadence of heaven, because we don't need, these are men that occupy these institutions, and we don't need men to do what we're going to do. We need the cadence of heaven. And I was going to, do some dancing and singing and passing out flowers and, all kinds of stuff. But there's one part in the song where I was, and I wish, I'm really disappointed right now just for this, because this is something very important to me. We talked to Susanna before, and that's her daughter Anastasia. Let's see what I can do here. And we told the story about all that. And again, a lot of these stories I wanted to unfold afterwards. But there's this part in the song, and this is Anastasia now. I don't know when that was, but you know, she's on a gurney all the time. And I walk in and I try to give her a hug or a smile, and it's nice, but she needs more life. And there was a part of the song where I just wanted to keep dropping love on her. Just keep dropping love on her. The beautiful part of the song talks about it being her time to shine, and I wanted to get down and give her all these roses and hold her up and say, it is your time to shine. It is your time to shine. I love you, Anastasia. It's her time to shine, and all these people out here who are suffering through these guardianship and abuse, guardianship and probate courts, and just people in general. It's not even about the courts. It's just about the compassion that we have for people in our world, and it's missing right now. But that was my special little tribute to Anastasia. Come here, Susanna. Can you come here? Lisa, put your purse down. Let me see this. Give me your hand. Give me your hand.
All right.
I was going to dance with Susanna and spin Susanna. And I was going to dance with Lisa. I was going to kiss Lisa. I love you.
I love you.
And that's the kind of fun we were going to have here today. So that, you know, I got that in anyway. You guys can say it. Sorry for. Yeah, say whatever you want.
I need to say this. There is absolutely no accountability, no transparency whatsoever in Dauphin County probate courts.
We'll get to that. Let me finish the routine here.
Thank you.
We'll get to that. You got it. You got it. We've had some good discussions here over the years. But then this song, and here this is how I was gonna announce the establishment of the Pennsylvania Civil Rights Law Network. Because again, folks, the message isn't getting across here, but there is a huge substantive piece of all this that they're going to be getting some documents in the mail tomorrow and the next day, and they're going to be like, whoa, what's he doing out there? That's how it's going to go. That's how it's going to go. Because we're setting up a court system with meat to it. But there's this part in the song that's really cool. It gets to this part about decreeing and declaring things. And it says, I forget what the words are, but it's not over yet. It's not over yet. And it's not over yet. I mean, we're just getting started. That little routine, that display I did during the first song, that was just my expression of how I wanted to express myself to God in front of everybody, that I'm not afraid to do. But this is going to be the cool part. I thought that was a pretty cool part too. I got some cymbals, and the music's going to go, and I'm going to pick up the box. And I got to, you know, the black thing will be picked up, it'll be spread back out, and the music's going to come around. And I'm going to take some things out, throw them on there. Cell phone. Another one of these damn things. John D, I need you then, buddy. We got it. So I'm just gonna walk around, and I got, hey Jack, this is for you.
There you go. Amen.
Earbuds, get these earbuds out of your ears. Start listening to God. They're jamming you up, folks. They're jamming you up. That's a pack of $50 bills. We got a little port, because the music picks up and it gets really energizing. And he throws that down on the pile, because that black robe, that black curtain, or black whatever you want to call, this is how we're going to start administering justice here at the Pennsylvania Civil Rights Law Network. And this is how we're going to be open. And the music just picks up beautifully right here as he starts going. She talks about just decreeing and declaring it. And I just want to get in and tell this stuff. It's evil. It's evil. It's evil. And that's how we're going to do it. And the music would have been perfect. And then I just want to turn around and tell this courthouse the same thing, man. Go. Go. All evil spirits, leave. And that's how we do it at the Pennsylvania Civil Rights Law Network. And tomorrow starts the real plan, because we are going to change this system. We are going to do some things that are going to be amazing. And I've got it all set up already. So I don't know, I don't think that these people in these offices are going to do anything to say, oh, Andy's right, let's move out tomorrow. Here's your office, Andy. No, it's not going to go that way. But we have some stuff set up. You know, we have competing forums set up that we're going to do things on TV, try cases. The first case I'm going to try is a case where I accuse this institution of being an institution of evil. And I'm going to try that case through the Pennsylvania Civil Rights Law Network, along with some other cases. And I have them. And again, when I talk about evil, folks, this is an important point to be made. I'm not talking about necessarily, who knows what form they take, but the horns and the pitchforks and all that stuff. Let me explain something. This is a little civics lesson for people here. We have concepts that underlie our Constitution that recognize, our bond with our Creator. But they are called separation of powers. Everybody probably heard of separation of powers, checks and balances, due process. Everybody's heard of these principles. We learned them when we were in second grade, third grade, or whenever. They're the core of how we function in our government, in our society, how we administer affairs. Well, there's been a breakdown in those principles. And these principles, folks, they're divinely inspired principles. The whole theory behind these principles is how do you protect institutions of man against evil influences. And I forgot to point out the Michigan thing. Don, that was for you. Michigan offensive line coming through the courthouse. That was for Don Bailey right there. This is for Jay Walsh. Can you get that? Jay Walsh, the purported founder of the Occupy Wall Street movement. I got this from him several years back. Got it? Okay. So these principles, and this is the whole legal theory and design behind this. These principles that are built into our Constitution, their purpose is to protect against evil infiltrations. That's just the express purpose. And they've broken down. The way this judiciary here in Pennsylvania is constructed completely violates all these principles. Everything's done in darkness. There's no checks and balances by the other branches of government, and it's completely out of control. It's completely out of control, and it's destroying our country in ways people don't understand. So this is just not me about here saying, oh, I got a bad result, so I'm going to start portraying evil. This is about me studying legally the basis of these things, the biblical basis, and the Western legal tradition basis for all these things, and how they all come together. And that when there are breakdowns in due process, separation of powers, checks and balances, evil is the natural result. So declaring something evil that does not administer due process, it's just me calling it what it is. You got that? That's just me calling you what you are. You can still change. I'm not taking any chances though. So that really, that was an important point to make, because this is a very, very thought out, structured legal strategy and approach to set up an alternative to a system and hope that we can get the people to see that at least the alternative shows the failures in the system that can be repaired politically, or there is a viable alternative out there. And there is a viable alternative out there, and I'm going to persist. And Donald Trump should get my letter in a couple days. I made some pretty express suggestions to him about how we can work together, and we'll see where it goes. So that's why I did this today. And I was going to just close up in a couple solemn moments. I had some cool, just kind of like rhythmic music. I was going to stand up here with the fellas, and there's like this song, it's called I Am God, 365 Ways of God. And there's one couple minute period that talks about God of justice, because we are talking about justice. And if we're talking about, I think I broke. If we're talking about, we got to understand what these precepts are. and it's just a recitation, a litany of 4 or 5 words for like 2 minutes. I am God. My testimony is truth. I am my judgments. All these kind of things like that. And I just wanted people to sit and reflect on that, and because it's going to build in our hearts. Because folks, I mean, this organization, I know we get this a lot of times in these things, these advocacy things, but this is real. This is real. This is real for me, and it exists. And our office is up here, and I know right where it is, and I know how things are going to go. And I'm just trying to keep that positive flow and positive energy so we can create it. We can create it, and I think there's a real opportunity to do it here with the way things are set up. And I won't get into talking about all the legal details, but there's 25 years of work. These papers, and let me show that. I firmly believe, following through on my promise that I was going to take this system apart, that these papers, this is it. This is it. 7, 8 pages. That reflects 25 years of work. Thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of research, of suffering, of studying, of talking to Susanna, of talking to Brenda about these legal situations, of learning about guardianship, and just realizing that there's a way to say it, and to say it quick, and to get right to the point. And that's what I did. So that's pretty short. And then I was gonna have a Bible verse from Ephesians, or I don't even know what it is, Ephesians 6, the one about taking on the armor of God and preparing you for a spiritual battle. And I forgot, this one little trick that I had. I was going to do my little routine. I got to get that one on there, and let me get all that stuff out there, because that's why I brought it. Mark Robbins, I'm coming for you. Coming for you. But then I was going to hold up, because this is my little exercise thing. And I was going to pretend I was going to drop the NASCAR hat on it. Oh, but the wind blew it out of my hand. But I wouldn't do that, because I run in this and I wear it all the time. So this is going to be my helmet to get up and do my little decree and declare thing, yada yada. Just a little theater, just having fun with it. But that's not an evil. But so that is. I mean, everything here. Oh, not this stuff that's holding down the thing, is a representation of evil for me. And evil to me has a definition. It's anything that separates us from the love of God. And a lot of this stuff, see that, guys? I never read that. I opened that so I could show my parents denied, and that's all I knew I was looking for. But we're not done yet, and that's been on the pile. So that's it. And then I was going to close. Jack, when he gets up here. But I want to do one thing.
How much more do you have?
What's that? How much more you got?
I have about 5 minutes.
Okay, that'll be perfect. That'll be perfect. What's that? I know. I'm just looking for. That's all right. I'm looking for one called Statement of Don Bailey. Oh, I hope that didn't blow away. Here it is. Hey, Kurt. Would you at least come up and while I read it, Kate? All right, you don't have to. Okay. And again, this is, I'd have been more happy if this celebration was more about Don Bailey and what he's done for justice in America over the past 25, 30 years than anything dealing with me. He's a man who I can't try. I'm a better lawyer than Don Bailey, but the man is 100 times smarter than I'll ever be. But I asked Don to appear today to speak because he's been very important to me. The richness, the untold richness of the relationship that we had a couple miles down the road here is just unbelievable. And I just reflect on that all the time. It's some of the deepest, most meaningful conversations I ever had. But Don prepared some written remarks because he couldn't be here today. And I'm going to read his remarks. I deeply regret missing the opportunity that Andy provided me so that I could speak with you today. Unfortunately, I am still recovering from a litany of severe health problems and am in fact scheduled for treatment both today and tomorrow, and therefore can't be here personally. I am, however, honored to have been invited, and I'm committed to the spirit and substance of what you're trying to do. Our nation was founded on the theory of ordered liberty. Civil society cannot exist without a government that can translate and effectuate the aspirations of its citizen components. Nietzsche once wrote that nation-states are, by their nature, coercive institutions. Restating the obvious here is not necessary, nor is revisiting Madison's notes of the Constitutional Convention, nor the Federalist Papers, namely, to understand the reasons and aspirations of the constitutional ratification process. The Bill of Rights was born out of citizens' demands that the powers of government, more specifically the federal government, were limited, and that any residual powers were reserved to the people and in some limited cases to the states. Out of that matrix, the resolution of ultimate questions, such as the relationship between branches of government and of a citizen and the government of a state, or even the federal government, has evolved over time. Judicial review is not in the Constitution. An originally discussed Council of Revision to perform such functions was never carried to any conclusion by the founders. The powers that Justice Marshall assumed, for example, to declare acts of Congress unconstitutional were left unaddressed during the convention because it was never contemplated that the judicial branch would ever assume the powers that it has. So too, it was beyond contemplation that the First Amendment would become fractured, not by legislative or executive actions, but by the judicial branch itself, who has decided that attorneys and citizens do not have the same First Amendment rights that others profusely enjoy. This is so even before they cross the bar. The judicial inclination to maintain and proselytize the myth of judicial piety has grown so extensively that it now threatens our nation and the rights of every citizen to enjoy free and equal access to our courts. Attorneys are not free to criticize or offer opinions about the courts, nor even to criticize judges, regardless of comments made by many justices themselves, such as Sandra Day O'Connor. Our modern judicial process has become akin to Star Chamber type of due process, known in England hundreds of years ago, when the attorney disciplinary processes are utilized to avoid criticism of our court and judges. I want to congratulate and encourage each and every one of you to undertake a new civic revolution, as yet unrecognized, that is more necessary to the freedom of our country than the exceptionally conservative actions of recent years would have you believe. If your attorney does not have the rights of free speech, or if you do not have an equal pro se right to appear and function in court, then our nation will succumb to abuses at the hands of that small number of judges that are not honest and who twist and distort due process in the name of their own selfish political and authoritative wishes. You are not just performing a service of sorts by being here and speaking out today. You are displaying a sacrifice of love for your country, whose history is no more complicated than defining a list of civil rights struggles and bloody battles. Ultimately, our Civil War was a civil rights struggle. Ultimately, the Second World War was a civil rights struggle. And of course, without any doubt, our Revolutionary War was the world's most prominent example of a bloody fight for civil rights. Again, I thank you very much, and I hope you will continue to struggle to bring the message and the powers of the First Amendment to every citizen, including lawyers and pro se representatives, and yes, also to those decent and honest judges, of whom there are many, as of yet, who have failed to recognize their responsibility to speak out. Let's give them protection too. We can only do so by fighting in the streets. Thank you, Don Bailey. Thank you. Thank you, Don Bailey.